All right, buddy. We are live. Jody,
Yes,
we're
sir.
alive. We're back.
Yes, sir. How we doing? How we doing?
Hanging in there, my man. Hanging in there. I'm just pulling up the YouTube feed so I can make sure that we are good to go and that we are everything is where it should be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we got to make sure of that. So we got to make sure the chat is working. And yeah, and I think we're good. So where do you want to start? We
Well,
have 600 matches to talk about. Really, we got about 6. But man, where do you want to start? Where do you want to kick this off?
well, monkey wrench, because last week or week before last, we had an addition by subtraction into the 8-man round robin that's taking place at Washington State this weekend. So Justin Green was one of the 8 guys that was going to compete, but due to an injury he had at the Brzenk Cup when he pulled Eric Wolf, he had to bow out. So that's the open space. So Tim Thomas, who's putting the event together, was like, okay, we have a group chat with the 8-man, and he was like, guys, who should we get? Well, next thing you know, Artem Taranenko, his name pops up because he will be there to shoot the live video for Tim Talmadge's YouTube channel. So Tim just thought, well, since he's going to be here, why not invite him? I'm thinking, oh, yes, please, because me and Artem got some unfinished business to do. And if you don't know Artem, if you don't like really know him, you want to punch him in the face because he's real arrogant, but it's all fun and games, right? I met Artem back in March during the Weirdo Camera Guy Championships in Texas. And it came down to me and him. He pretty much destroyed everybody, but I was the only person to get a couple wins on him. It was left and right. So he's claiming that I can beat you, yada, 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 which he had more wins on me than I had on him. Cool. But don't act like my wins against you like this didn't count, So there's that going on. So now he's in there. Cool. And Corey Miller with his bracketing system, and I had it on my show last week where he released the entire system where the only thing we had at first was the first round matchups. Now, thank you, Corey Miller, we got everybody's matches all the way to round 7. So I got Artem 3rd round. I'm thinking, cool, I'm going to really, I can't wait to get him, Then I'm also keeping in contact with Jeff Frank. And if you don't know, he's in British Columbia now, and they're going through a lot of, things going on with the flooding and all that kind of good stuff. I'm sorry, not good stuff, but they got all kind of issues going on there. And I was asking him, like, going, man, first of all, are you okay? Because that's kind of scary to deal with flooding. And are you going to be able to make it, And he was like, it's a 50-50 shot. I'm like, all right, well, keep me updated. And up to that point, I haven't talked to him since. And so on the chat, I had Artem on my show last week, and one of the guys said, hey, Artem, if Jeff Frank, for whatever reason, cannot make it, that means Jody's left hand is available. Since you're a lefty, Jody's a lefty, why don't you make a match happen? So Artem, in true Artem fashion, I don't know. I don't know if you're, strong enough to handle me, that kind of stuff. I was like, Artem, I will beat you. That's all there is to it. Got no problem beating you. Matter of fact, I'll just beat you 3-0 and call it good, Well, Artem says, yes, we'll make it happen. I'm like, cool. But Jeff Frank's a good guy. I had to double check and make sure. I said, hey, Jeff, what's the status, man? He goes, I'll be there. I'm like, cool. So I think he's coming out with Joe Fox. So he's going to make it. I'm thinking, cool, because at least now I can focus on Jeff Frank. Problem is, there is little to no footage on Jeff Frank. So, I mean, there's nothing to study for. So I'm kind of going in this match kind of blindly, So.
Well, I talked to Jeff, and he accused me of glossing over that match with you and him. And I said the reason for that was because it was so far away, and we were definitely going to have another show between then and now. And I know that he is going to make it. He posted on Facebook that the highway coming down to Washington is now open.
Yeah.
so he definitely can make it. I think he would be considered the underdog by quite a bit in the match, particularly with the dynamic that you have now set up where you are facing Robbie coming up at a later date.
Yeah.
So I think that got Jeff's attention a little bit. He is feeling probably the strongest he has ever, but I still see him as the underdog. Now, what is the match out of?
Best of 5 left hand.
Okay. My apologies to my friend Jeff, but I don't see you winning the match, my friend.
Did he watch the Uncle John show last Tuesday?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I missed it.
It was where, well, now that Gary Roberts took a sabbatical and now Evan Burgoyne's on there. So it was Evan Burgoyne, Uncle John, Alan Ford, and Aussie arm wrestler. And they touched base on that, actually, that match between Jeff and I. So he should go back and watch that.
Did any of them pick him to win?
No.
Well, Jeff is the underdog. So,
No.
I mean, that's not an uncomfortable place to be. If he loses, it's not a surprise to anybody. If he wins, I mean, it kind of puts all the pressure on you, Jody. And it's almost like the same thing we talked about in the match with Robbie. You would be considered the underdog in that match, and the pressure is on Robbie to win the match that he is, probably supposed to win.
Right.
But
I'd rather be the underdog. I was the underdog with Roger Learn, actually.
I never believed that.
I mentally, I was like, I'm the underdog, because of course the 98% nation is all over the country basically. So, and they were more vocal about it than a lot of my people rooting for me. So I just kind of took that as, okay, I'm the underdog. Okay, that's fine. Let's go. Roger's a big guy, and Roger came in about 245 maybe, and I was about 230. And if you ever seen Roger Learn in person, that guy, his barrel chest and the wide shoulders, it's more intimidating. And I've seen him be, we met back in Texas that same weekend we had the ROTN with Art and all those guys. He was there, and I'm telling you, he's gotten a lot better since then. So I took it as like, okay, I'm the underdog. I got to take this seriously. So with Jeff Frank, it's hard for me to try to do that underdog because I haven't seen a lot of Jeff lately as far as competition wise. And that's the hard part, because trying to find footage of him, they're like 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while in Canada, especially. It's been a while since we've all arm wrestled, and Jeff, I don't think, pulled at his own events.
Right.
I arm wrestled him once back at the national championships in 2019, I believe, which was the last time that it happened in Canada since COVID started. It will happen in 2022. But Jeff and I were the very first match in the super heavyweight division left-handed.
Ow.
And I do not have any insight into how that match went. I remember it was fast.
Right. And for me, that's why my mind's a little different, because, if it was somebody I had a lot of footage on, I can study and go, okay, I got to do this. Where's his shoulder set up? Where's his elbow placement? What kind of pressure is he showing? I see nothing. The only thing I saw was a couple clips. One where he was doing a wall event in Kansas City, like a qualifier of some sort. And it was straight, quick side pressure. Okay, but that was 2 years ago. I don't know what he's done since then. There was another clip of 2018 where, same thing. The latest one he was doing some training partners, but it was right-handed. So I really can't get anything off of that. So, like I said, I'm kind of going to this kind of blindly, not knowing what to expect, which means I have to go into survivor mode. Like if I don't have any footage, then I'm going survival mode. And that's my route I'm going to take.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch, and hopefully there's no conflict in between the two big events this weekend, correct?
Well, I don't know where the event is, but I know Wayne Withers is pulling Marcel Barboza.
Right. So there'll
I'm
be a
not sure
third
where
one.
that is.
And that's this weekend as well.
Yes.
That's incredible. Before we touch on that match, let's acknowledge the chats here. We got Billy Berg jumping in here, Stevie Diamond, Warren Kernot. Stevie says, hook me up with a dope house. Well, give me a call. Stevie, send me a message. I'll help you out. All right. So my official prediction, Jody Williams wins the match. Sorry, Jeff. Don't be pissed at me. He's going to give me shit tomorrow. I know he is. But he also would, if it was me and Matt Mask, he'd probably predict Matt Mask. So
right.
It is what it is. It's a prediction.
When are y'all going to get together? I'm still waiting for a date for that match.
You're not going to get it because my right arm is messed up. Like it's.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't pull that, does he?
Not normally. Like he would if it was like the old wall tournaments because, you had $1,000 for 8th place. So why not pull left arm, right?
Right.
So I think it's been about that long since he's jumped into a serious left-handed match. When his left is on, I hear it's really good, but it's not on that often. So it's kind of hit and miss with him. But he's never professed to be a great left-handed arm wrestler. His claim to fame has always been that right-handed position. And right now I can't challenge for that. So we'll see.
Bigger fish to fry March 5th anyway, so it's all right.
Yeah. And I will be ready for that match. Like really, really ready. So if Cody manages to win that day, then he's the man.
I will see Cody this weekend. He will be at Washington State.
And he's pulling somebody, or he's just jumping in the tournament, or what?
I think he's just going to jump in the tournament. So,
well, maybe I'll jump in. No, I can't.
Wouldn't that be? Oh, can you imagine? You even said one of these days, we were talking on one of your shows, and you said, one of these days, I'm just going to show up. I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on. Just show up and then watch people's jaw drop and watch the body language and people's shoulders kind of slump and do that. Can you imagine knowing that you got Cody Merritt March 5th in Kansas City? Can you imagine you just happen to make the trip and you arrive in Vancouver, Washington, and wow,
I think I'd be most curious to see how Cody's reaction would be.
You can just tell him, I'm just here for the chicken fingers.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
I'm just here to eat, man. I'm just getting something to eat. Don't worry about arm wrestling.
I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd just stop by and say hi,
That's what I said when I showed up at that event in Alberta. I was just in the neighborhood, thought I'd pop in.
Was that the one where Matt Mask was like upset? And
he was very mad. Yeah, he was upset. He phoned me. We talked about it on the phone. He yelled at me for like 20 minutes.
Right.
Said it was a sneak attack and all this stuff.
Do you know who I want to pull? Now, in the last couple of weeks, it dawned on me who else I want to pull left-handed. And you might have some insight, maybe not. I would love to pull Evan Burgoyne, Beerman, but I know him and his Tom Nelson thing is kind of, getting close to happening, but I'm just curious. I love to pull that guy just out of curiosity,
Now, yeah, that would be a fun match.
And I
really don't know where Evan's level is.
Right.
I busted his chops a little bit. And I'll tell him he's shit and everything, but he'll say the same thing to me. But I really don't know, and he could be, top 5 in Canada,
right?
Left-handed. I don't know. I will look forward to the match with him and Tom Nelson.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
The other thing with him though is I don't know where Tom is at, because Tom was amazing for a few years, but I don't know that he's been actually really training at all.
I think, and he mentioned that 2022 is a swan song year. So,
is it because he's fading away, or because he's actually going to put an effort in and make one last splash?
I think he's going to make one last splash, So, yes, he did the King in California. It wasn't the Tom that we all know, because he lost both hands. And,
Yeah.
I was rooting for Tom all the way. A good friend of mine, awesome arm wrestler. He has the pedigree. And, when you see that, you kind of go, oh, okay, Tom, now what? And, the guy's been through a lot in the last X amount of years, because at one point at the same time, both of his folks had cancer. So he was, dealing with that, took time off, and, his father didn't make it, but his mom did. And so he was really focusing on family life, as he should. So I get the fact that, he stepped away from the arm wrestling spotlight, but I think his motocross is his first love, but he just happened to be a good arm wrestler. And now he's like, okay, I'm going to make one last run at this. And then after that, I'm done. So I think at some point you will see Evan and Tom. And when, I don't know, but I think you will see that. Now, the reason why I said I want to pull Evan, because I'm listening to that show. And because I work swing shift, I don't get to hear it live as much. I might have a break in the action. I might chime in, hey, what's going on? Maybe listen 5 or 10 minutes, then I got to get back to work. Well, I know Evan is a character. I know he wanted to be on Arm Wars. I know that Neil likes that kind of stuff. Now I'm thinking, oh, well, crap, sign me up against Evan. Let's fucking do this shit. I know Uncle John and I are supposed to be doing something sometime next year. I know there's another Arm Wars on the horizon coming up next month, late January, and that card's already announced. And I'm thinking, okay. And I'm assuming Neil was talking about September, but also heard some things that it might not be a good matchup with me and Uncle John. He may have something else in store. I don't know. I need to know what's going on, because my goal, and I told Uncle John this, if him and I were slated for Arm Wars in September, then I would drop down to 210 catch weight, right? And Uncle John wants to be 185, and maybe Neil doesn't see it as a good thing. Okay, cool. If I'm pulling Evan Bagorin just for the sake of argument, I wouldn't need to cut to 210. I would stay where I'm at. I am 226 right now, and I would stay there. I'm not sure what Evan weighs right now, but just knowing him and his character, I'm thinking, I would love to pull that guy just to see what happens,
Well, that is interesting. And I think that you guys would be right about the same weight. So yeah, I like the match. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it on Arm Wars, and Arm Wars is going to be around for a long time. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the past and it's going to be the future. So Neil's not letting it go anytime soon.
That's his baby. And, like I said, I'm glad he got the new production to release the way Arm Wars is now, because it hasn't had that kind of taste before. And with this new splash, I'm like, wow, because it tells a story.
Yeah.
You got, if you focus on one match, you got all the arm wrestlers who are actually on the card have something to say about that particular match. They all have their own opinions. And I'm like, good, they're telling the story. Never ever has that been done before. And now they're doing that. So I'm thinking, yes, that's what we need. I like it.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments section here. There's some good stuff going on. Let's talk about, if you're ready, Wayne Withers and Marcio.
Yes. You have an explosive hitter in Marcio. Not a big hand, but if by chance Marcio is able to turn Wayne in like this, that's something that Wayne is not going to be able to get out of. Not to say that Wayne is not strong, but I think Marcio grips a little lower, on the hand. If he turns him in there, and once he turns him in, he's going to implement that huge muscular shoulder development that Marcio has. And once he does this, that is a hard thing to get out of, because not only he has that, but he also has that explosive hit. Okay. When you use that explosive hit, he's coming like this, it's going to be lethal. Now, does Marcio post up and do a top rope while lying on his tricep? I think that's something Marcio should not do, because Wayne has a long lever. Okay. Strong wrist, big hand, long lever, strong wrist. Not a recipe Barboza should go for if he wants to, posting top roll. It's not gonna. If he does that, he's gonna end up elbow fouling out. That's my opinion. If Marcio wants to win this match, he has to keep it inside. He has to grip a little lower, create down pressure and side pressure, and get his shoulder involved to take Wayne off of center. That's the only way I see Marcio winning that, and he's fast. Wayne's not known for his speed, but Wayne, if he could just sit there and he can just use that riser up here with that long arm and kind of just lean back a little bit, that makes Marcio uncomfortable in my opinion.
It's an interesting match. I don't think Marcio is going to do well if he tries to just top roll Wayne, of course.
Right.
Wayne is not an easy guy to top roll. He doesn't, he's got the long lever, like you said, and he's got the massive hand, and he's supremely confident when somebody tries to top roll against him. I mean, Matt Mask not being able to pronate through Wayne Withers tells a humongous story.
Yes.
And I think that we're really going to see where Wayne's level is right now, because Matt sometimes is inconsistent. Marcio will come in, and he has been looking great, and he looks incredible. I told a little story on the show about Marcio WAF trying to get him in drug. I'm curious what Marcio thinks about that story, but it is a true story. Like, they really tried to get him drug tested that year.
I saw that video put up, and I'm like, and I was like, are they for real? Like, is WAF that cryptic to where they would sit there and do that to a single person, like single them out like that?
Well, the drug testing was supposed to be random, but when Cody got tested the last time he was there, they pulled him out of the lineup at weigh-ins. So it wasn't even a results-based thing.
Right.
So, yeah, are they that dirty? I mean, those folks aren't with WAF anymore, the ones that were doing that.
Right.
Had they really wanted to get them, they would have put 3 control cards on the table, so all 3 of us got tested.
Right.
But there's also a limited number of tests. So when I was in Turkey, by the time my class got done in the Masters, there was no more tests left. They'd all been drawn. And I walked up to the table, and they're like, "Oh, we got no more tests, so you're good."
Wow.
Okay, fair enough. And then I mean, I've heard lots of stories about, even recently, guys getting removed from that banned list with just a phone call. So it's interesting.
So what do you think? Because just past weekend we saw that WAF Worlds took place, right?
Yep.
And the guy, I can't remember his name, won the supers. He's the one that pulled Travis in the Moldova event.
Georgie.
Yes, he ended up winning gold in the open class, senior class. And he looked pretty big, and he looked like he got bigger, and he looked strong,
Well, Georgie actually failed the drug test in Turkey too. He had his medal stripped of him the last time he was at WAF, before, like a week ago. He failed the drug test and had his medal taken away, and he got second to Levon with the right arm. So yeah, and then so I mean, when Derek from More Plates, More Dates says, arm wrestlers just take whatever the hell they want and hope they don't get caught, he's not completely off base there. I mean, there are people, and someone said you don't completely agree with him. What don't you agree with? Well, what I don't agree with is that all arm wrestlers juice, because they don't. And that's not what he said, but that's kind of what I'm getting at, is there's still a lot of guys that don't, but the ones that do will take whatever and just hope for the best. And if you're not going to WAF, there's no testing. The World Arm Wrestling League can say all they want that there's a drug testing protocol. No, there isn't. No, there is not.
Right.
Like, you can say it all you want, but you have not tested a single athlete that would prove that you actually are going to do that or be willing to test anybody.
And here's the thing, and I made a comment on that clip too, and I sat there and I was like, you know what? In the perfect world, which doesn't exist, for one, we should have 2 federations or organizations, or whatever you want to call it. We should have the ones that are vitamined up or whatever, if you want to call that, non-pancaked up. The ones who actually put in the work and do it because they want to see where they're at. Now, the guys who actually do all the other stuff, not saying they don't work out. I'm not saying they don't, put the work in, but when you have somebody who has an advantage, right? And you put them in this tournament against guys with just superior hard work. And that guy who's on something knows what's going on. He knows the outcome. He wins. Oh, yeah, I train and I do all this and do that. Now, here's the thing. He's not lying. He has trained. He has put the work in, but he also has some extra turbo boost, okay? Now, drag racing, take a car from drag racing. That is not your normal car. We all know there's some extra stuff that goes into the engine to make it go that much faster. That's just the way it is, right? So if those guys who are on the juice, sauce, call it what you want, if those guys have their own league, it would be awesome. Let those guys have at it, but just man up. If you're going to, have the balls to sit there and do it, you better have the balls to sit there and own up to it and say, yeah, I do it. So what? Now, we do have a handful of people who actually do that and, express that. But the others kind of hide behind that. It's like they do the Homer Simpson meme when they kind of fall back into the bushes, And it's like, just admit to it. Let the guys who actually put the work in and do it for a hobby, let those guys go after it. Then the guys who are actually on the soft, let those guys go after it. Totally.
Well, that's where I believe that's where WAF comes in.
Right.
But I also believe that if you get caught at WAF, you should be banned for a long time, not just till the next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go into WAF and you're knowingly going into a tested event, the testing should be a little bit harder and under a little bit more scrutiny. It's like the IPF and the WPO, which are two powerlifting organizations.
Yeah.
If you're with the IPF, like let's say I entered a meet tomorrow, for a solid year, I would be under the scrutiny of the IPF, and they would have the ability to show up at my house anytime they wanted and ask me for a sample.
Wow. To
Over the
house?
next 12 months, they can show up at your door and say, we want a sample. And that's the kind of testing that would be required at minimum for the WAF to be cleaned up consistently.
That's some serious groundwork, because to go to someone's house, and what if you have a sign that says no soliciting, no trespassing, but they come knocking on your door, or you can't do that John Jones thing where they show up to his gym and he was hiding underneath the ring or something. Yeah. What was the story about that?
That's exactly what happened. USADA showed up to test him randomly, and he was hiding underneath the cage inside of Jackson Wink Gym in Albuquerque, and he stayed under there for a long time until the coast was clear.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of deal. Like when I was with the IPF, because I did compete for the IPF,
yeah,
I had to sign papers that said I would be subject to random drug testing, and that meant they could come to my house and test me.
Well,
so that takes it. All it takes is money. But then again, has arm wrestling gotten to the point where people just don't care? That's the question. Do people care that guys are admittedly enhancing and maybe the most open sport about it that there is? Because even at like World's Strongest Man and Strongman, it doesn't get talked about very much.
Well, I think now bodybuilding, because of all the deaths that's been happening lately, now it's been like, okay, where you kind of knew about it, but you really you didn't want to believe it. And now with all these gurus, with all these bodybuilding athletes, and you need to take this and take that. And it's like going, you can't do that. Your heart can only take so much. Your organs can only take so much. And then they're going to fail, And I think in our sport, like, what is the payoff to do all that? To say that you're the number one guy? For me, it's still a hobby. I'm not doing this to make a living. I still got a 9-to-5 job like everybody else, most of the people anyway. And I live off that. This arm wrestling thing happens to be a hobby, which I happen to be somewhat good at, but I enjoy it though. I'm not trying to be the best in the world. because I don't have the time for it, because I have my 9-to-5 job, because I have my family. I don't have the wherewithal to do that. So, for me to sit there and want to be the elite, I would have to put everybody, below me and just focus nothing but arm wrestling. And I can't do that. That's not fair to my family. That's not fair to my friends, not fair to my job. So that's why I do it. But did you know I'm banned from WAF? Did you know that?
Is that official? Are you on the list?
I'm sure I would be, because I did compete in the IFA Worlds this year. So I think by that notion, I'm banned for WAF. I'm like, oh, okay. So even one of my friends who actually won gold in Masters Left and Right said, just come to WAF and just change your name. Yeah.
You can't. You got to show your passport.
Right. I think he was joking when he said it, but yeah. So because I competed in IFA, I'm pretty much banned.
I can tell you why you need to show your passport. But first, I'll read this comment. Timmy Turner says, Mindaugas won medals at WAF Europeans, and afterwards they wanted him to sign some papers. He refused, and they took his medals away and changed the results as if he wasn't there. Interesting.
Wow, really?
That's what Timmy is saying in the comments section. So I don't know if that is true or not, but I assume that he wouldn't just say something like that. And then I will tell you why you need a passport in WAF.
Okay.
Because I sat in these Congress meetings. Now, you used to be able to just show some sort of some form of government ID, but all of a sudden they changed it to you had to have the passport and pull for the country that was displayed on your passport.
Okay.
And the reason for that is there were some Russian competitors that were basically farming themselves out to other countries to win their country a gold medal or a medal of some sort. So they would compete. One year they would be Team Russia. The next year they would be some other country, and they would basically hire their services out as a competitor to bring home one of those medals.
Is it that serious?
Over there, apparently it is.
Now, Grant, I know the government has some say about, hey, if you take top 3 at these big events like the WAF or the Europeans, then there's some financial gain from that. But
yeah.
And maybe because us North Americans don't look at it like that, it's like, that's mind-boggling.
Also, because the majority of the positive drug tests were coming out of Team Russia, they stopped punishing the athletes. Well, they still punished the athletes, but they also started fining the coaches so that they could try to prevent and fix the global problem that was performance enhancement at WAF, because it was a staggering amount. It was like 90% at one point of positive drug tests were coming out of Russia. Now, a lot of that was because of the fact that the Russians were dominating the podiums, and taking the majority of the tests as well.
Right.
But, that's how it unfolded. That's what went down.
Wow. Crazy,
Yeah.
Man. Well, so much for
anyway.
WAF. Just
So what's your official prediction on Wayne Withers versus Marcio?
Okay, best of 5. I am going to say this is how I'm going to say. I say, wow. Because I've actually never made a prediction. I've always told people how it would go, but never finalized the whole deal. I'm going to say Marcio will win 3-2. But 2 of Marcio's losses will be, one of Marcio will lose twice. One will be off elbow fouls. The other one will be off a pin. Marcio will make the adjustment, and he'll go to straps.
That is a very specific and a very intelligent prediction. I can't really say anything different now. I was going to simply say 3-1, but the way Marcio would lose, I think, is just trying to out top roll Wayne. But I mean, I can't argue with that. So let's go to the big event here. Big event, which apparently, and this is a little disappointing, it takes a little bit of the zip off this event, is the fact that Gasparini and Gennady are now a left-handed match.
When it got altered to that, it was kind of like, Oh, that's how I felt. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm a left-hand puller myself, so I'm intrigued, but I think it's more headliner when they're pulling on the right. So I have no vote what's going on as far as those guys. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to assume that maybe Gasparini is beat up a little bit from his match with Kurdecha, but this was the match that was going to show us, kind of where the world stood, well, the series, a sequence of matches. So if Gennady beat Gasparini, then we get to see him against Michael Todd early next year. So we get to see kind of all of these moving parts kind of start to get sorted out a little bit to see where the world stands when it compares the East and the West. Now it's a left-handed match.
Right.
It's going to be a good match, but it's a standalone now. There are no implications beyond this. And I appreciate a left-handed match, but as far as the world rankings go, I kind of don't care as much,
Right. I still think Gasparini does not belong with those guys. I think he just got, so big that I need to be no. I think he belongs in the weight class down where he needs to be with Prutnik and those guys, I don't think he belongs up there. That's just my honest opinion. When I saw him pull Alex, and I was like going, there is no way he should ever be up there. And I don't mean he's elite, just not in that weight class,
Yeah. Well, he pulled the largest guy. So
Right.
I mean, he's a giant. And yeah, Stevie Diamond says it's more on the names now. I agree. What's my prediction? I have no idea. I mean, probably Gennady. I'll go with Gennady in straight matches all the way through. And I think they're doing 6-rounders, aren't they?
Yep.
So you got anything else you want to throw into that match?
I just don't think this will be, and you can't even say it's going to be a test for Gennady because when he pulls Michael, it's going to be a right hand. So
it's not going to make a difference.
It won't make a difference. You just kind of go in there and hope that you don't blow a peg by pulling on the peg hard with the right. I don't know,
Yeah. Okay, well, then I guess Larry Wheels and Brandon Allen.
Yes.
I mean, the crazy thing about this is we see Chance Shaw go over there, and Larry is kind of tying him up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what can you glean from that? Larry's leveled up a little bit in strength. Can he do it in a real tournament situation? Does practice table matter at all? Which, it does a little bit, but it's not like the grand deciding factor of everything.
Does practice matter? Yes and no, to be honest. It doesn't matter because it's like you can be filming something. I can be filming on my YouTube channel, you and I pulling, but I get the last, 10 minutes where I didn't get the first 3 hours, right? If you're worn out, I got a couple wins, cool, but I'm not parading around. Look what I did. If you go on my YouTube channel right now, there's a clip where Michael Todd came to Portland, Oregon, and we did a hike first before we did some after pulling in the parking lot at Multnomah Falls. And Michael's not known for his left. There was a clip where me and him are pulling left, and I did pretty decent. All he said was that you hit, I'm going to try to catch you. I got a position where I was able to kind of get that on him, but it was left hand. I don't use that as like, hey, look what I did. I beat Michael Todd. It was more like I kind of showed Michael Todd what I can do. He kind of gave me feedback, and that's how it went. Never, ever, ever do I ever take that video and say, hey, I think I can beat Michael Todd. Not going to do that. But watching Chance, watching Larry, it looked like Chance was just, okay, Larry, just go ahead. I'm going to see if I can hold you. And when I got to a certain point, Chance couldn't pull it back.
Yeah.
He even said, if the match stayed here, just pulling around is one thing, but if it ever got out here, then he was in trouble. I think, like you just said, leveled up, Larry has. And, pulling Brandon Allen is more realistic than him pulling Schoolboy,
Yeah.
So 2 guys, 2 different spectrums. Even Larry said he's not 100% confident in his top roll, which Brandon does do that. So it's going to be interesting. Larry's going to, clamp down low. He's going to involve that massive shoulder, massive arm and hand. He's going to come in like this where, Brandon is strong, and he's going to try to take it this way. And I hope he does. Last time we saw Brandon, he pulled at the King of California. Last time I saw him pull and beat Dave DePew. Dave DePew's been pulling for years. But he's also a powerlifter by trade. So that's where he makes his name at, not so much arm wrestling. So what do we take from that? I don't know. Just strength for strength. I almost see this as a Mike Aiello, Eric Spotto part 2, where you have a guy has some tools, but they're all just big power guys. Whoever makes the actual arm wrestling move is going to win.
And what I'm curious about here, and I probably would give this edge slightly to Brandon Allen, is if one of them gets beat right off the bat, can the other guy transition into something different? Can he adapt during a super match? And I think Brandon probably can.
I'm going to say Brandon because I think just watching Larry has gotten a lot better. Make no mistake about it. But did you see what I see when he was pulling Chance? What did you notice when he was pulling Chance?
Oh, I noticed a lot of things, but the one thing I did notice is once they got a few rounds deep, it didn't matter if Chance got a start on him. He was getting pulled over.
What I noticed, what stuck out to me most was that after a few pulls, Larry got winded easily. Like he got winded.
That's interesting.
And if you're going 6 rounds and you're getting winded after a couple pulls, I mean, granted, they were grinders and they were just kind of they weren't like ready goes. They were slow pulling. He was using everything in there and Chance would kind of hold him and then Chance like, okay, go ahead and get it. If Larry's getting winded by doing that, can you imagine when they really get into it? 6 rounds, because you're not rolling into it. It's a ready go and you're going for it. And I saw Larry, as strong as he is, he got winded easily. I'm saying Brandon 4-2. So I think Larry's going to get it because he'll be fresh. But once he exerts all that energy, dude, it's like, what the hell,
I'm going to say Larry 4-3.
Ooh, silver bullet match.
Silver bullet match.
Nice. I like that. I just think I want Larry to win, but I just watching him be winded just after practice. I'm like, and I hope his conditioning is now training with Levon doesn't hurt anybody. No. So the strength is there, but just the conditioning. That's my concern, the conditioning aspect of it. And like I said, there's nothing. I'm not dogging Larry. I'm not going against him as far as that. I like the guy, but I'm just watching going, and I watched it again this morning. I'm like going, dude, it's like breathing hard. Give me 5 minutes. Let's take a break. I'm like, okay, So is this like a 1 minute in between rounds kind of deal? Because if you're winded now, you're just rolling into it, sparring, so to speak. How's that going to look when you're going 6 rounds, balls to the walls,
So we have our predictions on that match.
Yes.
There's really only one more match to talk about.
Really? I didn't know. Who else was pulling that day?
Somebody want to remind me in the chat who these next 2 guys are?
Is it Bob Brown and Ian Carnegie? No, that's not it. It's Pork Chop and no, that's not it. Oh, the Mind Games. Larratt and Brzenk. Okay.
So you got a guy that looks like, okay, you got John who goes from being retired to looking like you took the head off of him and put it on Dave Chafee's body in about a 4 or 5 month period here.
Right.
He's 250 pounds. He's bigger than he's ever been. He's older than he's ever been, and he's stronger and bigger than he's ever been, which, it's fun. Okay. Whatever. John is huge. And then you have Devin, who went from a boxing match to doing this, but who says, I have it on relatively good authority that Devin is in the second best shape that he's ever been in as far as arm wrestling strength. The first being the one that showed up to pull Michael Todd at King of the Table 1.
Is that healthy to put your body through all that? Like, you bulk up to 290, drop all that weight for a boxing match, then bulk up again. Is that really healthy for your body to be doing that? I'm just curious.
I don't think either one of these guys is really concerned with health at this point.
Right.
If they were, they probably would be arm wrestling at 225.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty honest, I don't think whoever loses this match, these guys' legacies are cemented as we speak right now. Even if for some reason, if the match got canceled, their legacies are already cemented. Now, here's the thing. Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. I like the buildup because I'm seeing a side of John I never saw before, right? I'm seeing a John that's like, he's kind of talking a little trash, and you don't really see that from John. And he's playing mind games, something you never really saw John. John was more quiet and calculated. Devin was always the mind game, but I think over time, Devin has embraced the role of being a villain, so to speak, and I think he really embraced that in the WAL. When Travis was no longer there, then he became public enemy number one, right? Whether he's beefing with the Bartwood, the ref, and the down ref, and he's beefing with Bob Brown when he pulled Toddzilla, and with the fans and all that kind of stuff. I think he relished that. And with the mind games, he's right now as we speak, currently, he is the master of mind games right now. And with all the pumpkin hand and arm, whatever you want to call that now, and the cryptic 2-minute, because you need a bona fide bad guy to make this match happen. It's like I always said, I'm a big Avengers fan. If Thanos is not kicking everyone's ass, the Marvel movies from Avengers is not great, right? So you need somebody like that. We're looking, John can be the Captain America to Devin's Thanos. That's how I look at it right now, okay? Is Captain America going to win? Is he going to do it one last time? The All-American guy, is he going to do it? Devin says no. Then all of a sudden you got all these, what is that, arm bet thing or staking? I'm sorry, staking. And no one has John winning, but to make it somewhat fair, can John get one win? If John gets one win, then that's a win for everybody from what I've been hearing, right? So again, who I want to win and who I think will win may give you two different answers, okay? Now, John has to be 250. If he's coming in at 225 or 220, there ain't no fucking way he's beating Devin. No way. The fact that he is at 250 makes it different. Now, if Devin tries to beat him with his hand, Devin's going to lose. He's going to lose. If Devin puts pressure on his shoulder or elbow, Devin wins. So you had to be real calculated because it's not a, it's history. John's elbow is not, the best. He's had problems with that. His shoulder is not the best. He's had problems with that in the past. If for some reason Devin, and he'll figure it out within 6 rounds, if he can put pressure on those points right there, Devin will find it, and Devin's going to capitalize on that, and he'll probably bleed him out in that area. Whereas if Devin tries to go into his hand, John's going to sit there, hold it here, and probably have that smirk and he's going to take him down. Devin will probably lose the first match just to see where John's at. That's I predict. Devin will lose the first match purposely to see, okay, now I know what I'm working with. I'm going to go after it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll gauge him and he'll find the weak spots.
I think my prediction, and people are going to jump all over me for saying this. Like I said, I want John to win. Make no mistake about it. So everybody in the chat, you heard it. I want John to win. This is how I think it's going to go. John will win match 1. Devin's going to figure him out. Devin will win round 2. Now it's 1-1. John's going to actually do some stuff. He'll make an adjustment because he knows it. He'll pin Devin, bleed him out a little bit. But because John is 57 years old, he may blow his load on that. And then Devin will win the next. And then Devin will probably end up winning 4-2.
Now, I made a bet with Curtis Mocan about this. He said, I'll take Devin if you take John. I said, the only way I'm doing that is if you give me 2-1 odds. And he did. So it's a small bet, but it's a bet nonetheless. But he gave me 2-1 odds on John. So I don't know who's going to win. John is always a threat, but is he a threat at that level? When we were just talking about Devin potentially being the number 1 guy in the world, once that Levon match does happen someday, man, I don't know. I think you're probably right. I think you're probably spot on with that prediction.
But they're training.
You know what? I would even say that you might see John win 3 matches because Devin messes around a little bit and lets him get in positions. And then all of a sudden, as long as Devin doesn't foul out, he wins 4-3.
Right.
But I mean, Timmy Turner says Devin is supposed to win 6-0. He's the bigger, younger, more active guy. Brzenk is 10 years older, war-torn. But as far as mileage goes, I mean, Devin might have as much as John does.
Yeah. But see, the thing is with John, because he's retired like 47 times, right? So
yeah.
When he came back this recent time, he had these big matches with Chad Shaw, Dmitry Kalkin, and Paul Lynn. I think those matches were to kind of get him ready for this. Whereas Devin didn't need all that because Devin's always pulling. I think he might be across the street right now pulling my neighbor in his backyard. I think I see him over there with a green hoodie, but he's pulling everywhere right now. So that's how Devin stays sharp. He's pulling everywhere, anyone, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where John's like, okay, I'll pull this guy. And, who doesn't want to, and the thing about that is like, John is like, yeah, I'll pull this guy. I mean, I'd rather see John pull Todd Hutchins, honestly. I'd rather see that match than John versus Devin. That's my honest opinion.
You might be onto something there. The interesting part is, no matter who wins, what's next?
Exactly. Well, isn't John pulling like Zolioff?
Yeah.
So he already has something. You win or lose, it's on to the next.
Yeah, but I mean, is that match even interesting if John beats Devin?
Not really.
No, I mean, if John wins, I mean, people are going to start talking about John versus Levon almost immediately.
No, that shouldn't happen.
Well, if he beats Devin, it might.
It might, but it's like you have to go back. John needs to go, okay, when I beat Cleve Dean, when I beat Dennis Saplenkov, he was a lot younger then, but he turned those guys in. There was no way he's going to top roll those guys. If you watch those matches, their hands are too big to top roll. He turned them in and laid on their bicep.
Yeah. Yeah, true enough.
So to do like a Levon, you would have to do that. I don't think, John should do it. That's my opinion. We all want to see it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to see that. If Devin wants to go after Levon, yeah, but Devin needs to realize, Devin, dude, you try to bulk up against Dennis and he put you down 6-0. Maybe because Devin, you a 290 version.
Yeah, I don't know though. I don't know if Devin was even bulked up for that Dennis Saplenkov match.
He was coming off a wall.
Yeah. So he's coming off a wall. Where was he? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough one to make that comparison, but I think. And then Dennis didn't want the match right-handed, if we remember that.
Yep.
So
it's almost like Levon is sitting on his throne right now, and he's just kind of watching, going, Okay, who's next? He's watching. Okay, I see Alex over there doing things. I still got, Gennady right here. I still got other guys kind of going, okay, let you guys fight it out. And then the winner, you guys give me a call. That's how I see this as,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be, he's just waiting and watching. And apparently we're going to see him as soon at some point, maybe King of the Table 3, we'll see a major match. But I mean, either way, I'm going to be watching 3 different events this weekend somehow at the same time.
I'm not going to be able to watch any of that because I'll be involved in my own event. So
yeah, you'll be pulling.
I'll be pulling Jeff Frank left-handed. Then I'm also involved in the 8-man round robin. So I won't know what the hell goes on. I think social media might stall for a little bit because we got so much going on that Saturday,
I agree. And then the point was made in the chat that Devin won't mess around with the betting. So he might just go for the straight 6 win. So that's a good point because a lot of people will bet on Devin and he will need to win in order to win that staking on him.
Right. No, he's going for it. Yeah. I just think John is savvy enough to know like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's why I said Brzenk wins matches 1 and 3 and Devin wins 2, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. And I like the fact that the staking is out there to prevent the shenanigans from happening too.
Yeah.
Because I used to hate it when a guy would get up 4-0 and he would throw a couple of matches.
Well, they did that because it's like, if I already won, why is remember that which I think is one of the first, incarnations of the top 8. It was 2012 in Bulgaria where you remember that they had Brzenk and Hutchings and Terrence Opperman and Arson, all those guys. And in a 209-pound Trubin, by the way. And what happened was, I remember Todd, 6 rounds. I'm trying to remember who he pulled. It might have been Terrence Opperman. And once he got his 4 victories, he was good because there was he advanced to the next round. So why pull hard on that? It's like, I got what I needed to get.
Yeah.
I can just hold and you can just lay down. We'll see what happens. If I get out here, I'll get out here, I'll lay down to you. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating to see that. But I know from a calculated standpoint, I see why they do that.
Yeah, for sure.
All
right, buddy. We're at the hour mark. We're going to put a bow on this one.
Oh, that was pretty quick. That was a quick hour.
That was a quick hour, man.
Wow. Talk about 60 minutes, huh?
Yeah.
I'm excited for the weekend. I'm excited. Actually, I'm kind of more excited to get this done and over with because the waiting and the buildup is just like, dude, I'm going crazy. Whether it be the tournament I'm involved in or the tournament everybody else is talking about, I'm kind of losing my marbles. I'm about ready to put my head through a wall going, dude, let's get this thing going. So I'm excited for this. And after that, it's more like I'm going to just sit back, enjoy Christmas. I'll still be training and wait. I know I'll have something before Robbie Topi happens, but after that, I'll just be focused on Topi. If the Arm Wars things happens, it won't be till September. The Topi thing is in June. So it's like, okay, I'll just focus, train. Something may pop up. Who knows? We'll take it day by day, month by month, and we'll see what happens. Maybe Paul Attilia may have something, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Sounds good. I will say that if you haven't hit like on this video and you haven't subscribed, please do so.
Yes.
We just crossed 3,000 subscribers on this channel, so I'm happy about that. And Jody's channel is in the video description, so head over there and hit subscribe on his channel as well.
Please do.
Next week we should unpack all this and do the analysis of what happened on the weekend. So let's talk about that after your match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me on the show today, Jody. All right, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys very shortly.